Yes, sir. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to, in fact, the best day of the week. This show is, of course, brought to you by BetUS here at High Top Sports. Last 24 hours been nuts. We got snow in Florida. I mean, I'm not talking like just flurries. I'm talking about like 8 inches, more than your mom got. Anyways, ton of snow here in Florida. Our West Coast boys and girls out there in the Panhandle got a ton of it. Florida's in shambles. My AC froze. Little man outside. Wife and the neighbors are pumped up to see the AC frozen. It's a good time here in Florida right now. Also, big news. The Jaguars decided to fire their GM about 48 hours late. I got a thought on that. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about some O-line movement possibility, reading tea leaves. We'll discuss it. I'm sure you'll give us our thoughts and opinions about it. Talk about a big recruiting weekend coming up for Florida. Then discuss a lot of things about college football in the next kind of just a foreseeable future. College football playoffs, is that going to change? And then top 25, interesting stuff. We'll talk all about it, but without further ado, we're not going to do any of this without our main man, David Swartquist, ladies and gentlemen. Dave, how are we doing, big guy?
Man, oh man, it's snow white out there. Most of the state of Florida, it looked like, got some snow. I know a bunch of Pensacola and everywhere else. I was getting all sorts of messages. Actually, I have a friend that lives in Louisiana. She got like a foot of snow. So it's just been wild looking at the weather this year. Of course, me, I'm thinking I live more north. I'm in North Georgia. I'm going to get some snow, right? I didn't get anything. Atlanta got hit, though, but I didn't get anything. So, I mean, I was like the University of Miami this week. I didn't get a national championship, an ACC championship, a top 10 class, a bowl win. I didn't get anything. But, hey, it's Wednesday. It's high top, baby. Let's get it. Let's go.
I love it. We got Gator Basketball on right now, and I'm very upset with them because they've been on this nice little bit of a schedule. They play on Tuesday. We have our show on Wednesday. We talk about it. We get to recap it. For whatever reason, they switched it, and they're playing right in the middle of our show. I don't know who got the schedules mixed up, but I got to talk to the boys because it's unacceptable. And they're on a little bit of a burner right now, down 6.
That's right.
Not a burner because they've been getting their ass whooped, but they're on a little bit of somewhat of a comeback tour here. So maybe some Gators will trickle in as this game comes to a close. But let's talk about real quick here the Trent Baalke situation for the Jaguars, and the reason why. I know we don't talk about NFL or Jaguar talk too much on the show, but most Gator fans, I would say, a lot of our Gator fans are either Jaguars or Bucks, so they're familiar with the situation. It impacts the Bucks because earlier today, their offensive coordinator decided to say, "Hey, I'm not going to the Jaguars." The reason I bring up the Baalke situation, the GM, when the news dropped a few weeks ago that Dougie P was being let go, but Trent Baalke was being kept, Jaguar fans went berserk. Absolutely just mayhem. Throwing tomatoes at everything they could do, calling in on call-in shows, cussing. Just this place is a dumpster fire. Then over the last 48 hours, losing Ben Johnson to the Bears, that threw Jaguars to a frenzy. Losing Allen to the Jets, the DC from Lions, that was another potential target. On top of the news of Tampa's OC retracting, wanting to become the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of noise about Baalke not being liked by head coaches. That was kind of a known thing. The reason I bring all this up is because the fans were very loud and very prominent of how they felt about Baalke. There's a history, or Baalke, whatever his name is. There's a history with Trent going back to the 49ers where even Harbaugh was like, "F this, I'm not working with this guy. I'm going back to college football." That was a whole thing. This guy's got a bad track record. Fans were loud. The owner, Sean Khan, kind of had the ego of like, "I know what I'm doing. I'm the billionaire. This is the decision that I'm going to make." Well, after today, the noise got too loud and he had to ultimately make a decision to move on from him. And the reason I bring this up is because with what we do with here, how we're constantly criticizing whether it's Strickland or whether it's Napier, whether it's this or that, I always try to be reserved in the sense of like, we're just guys who talk on a microphone. Like how much, do we really have a say in this? We think we know it all. We watch this game, we're passionate, and that's what makes I would say, our love and drive in the right place. But sometimes it can be overreactive because we are fans. But maybe sometimes we are right. That's kind of where the Baalke situation came into play, where it's like, and that's where I asked myself today, it kind of dawned on me, like, man, billion in this Strickland situation with this OC thing. I know you're going to hate me with the OC conversation, but it's brought me back up. Like, man, maybe us fans aren't crazy. Maybe we're not knocking on the wrong door. We watch a lot of football. We're passionate. We all want the same thing. And us fans, we're just mad. We want to just throw sticks and stones at somebody. I even talked to my buddy today because he's pissed. He was yelling at me about the missing out on coaches. Like, why are you? Whoa, I didn't do this. He's like, I'm just pissed. He's like, dude, he goes, I
Your
wish you
fault.
had a Jaguar channel because I would just go on there and just cuss you out in the comments. I was like, what? And then it dawned on me. I was like, that's why you guys are yelling at me in the comments section. You just want somebody to vent to. So it was all around learning day for me. But that was some fun news. And maybe I'm just talking in circles here. I could be. But it was kind of a dawned on moment of like, look, sometimes us fans, even though we're loud and crazy, there's always a little bit of truth in anything. And same thing I've even kind of thought about of our show. People will criticize us, yell at us, throw tomatoes at us in the comment sections. You guys are mostly always very supportive. And I read the comments, and sometimes they hurt. And my wife and friends are like, why read the comments? So listen, it's healthy to grow and to see what they say. So sometimes what people say, there's a little bit of truth in that. If you can make adjustments and grow, I think that's important. And not have any ego thinking you know what you're doing. And I think sometimes these coaches and the GMs, they operate in that function and aren't listening to the noise. Khan has definitely not listened to the noise, and it's bit him in the ass. So we'll see. I think, this will be a major convo this offseason, and of course going into next year, of course, with Billy not making too many movements thus far. Thoughts on my rambles?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have tough skin to do this anyway, man. I mean, because you're not going to please everybody. You're going to look at that comment section, and you're going to probably get about like 90 to 95% of people that are satisfied with what you say. Then that other 5% comes in, and usually it's opposing fan bases. Other than that, sometimes it's a Gator fan that just doesn't agree with you. That's cool. If you disagree with me, I'm not going to tell you I'm the world's best expert that there is. I just give you my opinion. But at the same time, I was looking at Twitter and I read about this, and of course, I'm not a big NFL guy, but I saw that the GM got fired for the Jags, and I'm just like, well, wow. And these people were talking. I was like, wow, these are Gator fans, and they have to deal with the same thing in the NFL the next day. I don't know how y'all do it. Like, I pick one sport, it's stressful enough for me, man. I don't even know how, like, everybody does baseball, basketball, NFL. And, like, look, I'm not saying every team, like, that we have, like, our basketball team's still good. Even whether they win or lose tonight, it's still a good basketball team. Baseball is always on the rise. We're always pretty good in baseball. It's always the football, and then the football in the NFL that always takes the biggest hits. So I do understand from an aspect of coming into there. And I was actually looking. We were talking before the show about the Shahid Khan. Yeah, he is related to Tony Khan. Tony Khan owed like AEW and all that too. I don't know how much of the Jaguars he owns or if he's even affiliated with it, but it is pretty cool. Like some of the stuff that like you pick up on Twitter and you kind of research, you kind of know a little bit more about it. So I'm pretty sure a lot of Jaguar fans are pretty happy that happened. But of course, I hear a lot of them saying it was like 2 days too late or something like that. So I'm with them though. Hey, look, I know how you feel.
It is too late. What I can't wait for is Napier to hire Balky as RGM. that's good to see.
Somebody else put that out there today, and I was like, no.
Oh, it's happening. Strickland's going to see it. He loves the noise. He's just going to like, you know what? Let's pour some oil on this gas.
All the bad stuff. I heard so many bad things about Balk, and I was just like, if he's this bad, I don't want him here.
Yeah, it's horror stories. Horror stories. Real quick, I want to clarify this. Down below on the ticker, it says Onus committing soon. We don't know where he's committing. His commitment is coming up in early February. So that was, I read that and I kind of took that as like people may think he's committing to Florida. We don't know where he's committing. It's just his commitment, and obviously we're in the hunt. We feel excited. There's the crystal balls. That's why it's down there. I literally looked down and read that. I was like, that could be perceived a certain kind of way. So I'm gonna make sure. Thank you. That we're clear on that. Let's dive into what's kind of this we saw. Shout out to Cam Parker, dropped this in our Discord today, and I found it very intriguing. And I can't remember who asked the question in the Discord. I do apologize, but when I saw it, I thought this, and then they asked, like, "Hey, do you think this is a big deal?" And I go, "Absolutely." And here's why. So Javara Thomas, I assumed based on her comment here, is the mother of Javion Cooper, 4-star inside offensive lineman. Here's what she posted. I think it's on Facebook here. It says, I don't know how this shit goes, but UF came back to my baby school yesterday, and I guessing gave him a re-offer because new O-line coaching staff. Just hope this is a sign he's coming back this way. But either way, mommy rocking with you. Now, I think he's currently committed to Syracuse, is my understanding. So by her saying like come back this way, like probably to come back to Florida to play, closer to home. What obviously piqued everybody's interest though is that the middle line there is because of the new O-line coaching staff. This is something that we've talked about, obviously, with the contracts coming up with Rob Sale. Is he going to stay? is there going to be a reconstruction of his contract? Because right now his contract in titles slash OC. And that was one thing I was like, there's no way this guy retains that title. I think early on, like that was kind of, hey, we're not gonna hire an OC, but we're gonna give you the title. We know Callaway kind of consumed some of that title as well. He's being paid $1 million. DeCosta comes in. There is a huge lift in the O line. Was it because of DeCosta? I don't know what it was. And we haven't. That is one of the contracts that hasn't been re-signed yet. Out of all the ones that we have up for grabs, they've all been re-signed. I haven't heard anything on Callaway yet either, from my understanding. But Gonzalez is back. Tyler is back, and of course Jaluk, which were the three big ones. They're all back. So this was very interesting to me. And we've seen DeCosta on the trail, so I don't believe he's going anywhere. So could he be moving up? There's a lot of question mark. I think this kind of, piqued a lot of interest. And the reason I brought this up too is that somebody asked, like, hey, do you think this is important? I go, yeah, I think it is, because parents, this is an emotional response. They're not thinking, oh, like if I say this, people are going to know or not know or think, new offensive line. And why use the word new if that isn't part of the pitch? I'm assuming coach comes in and goes, yeah, mom, like, they came in, they're restructuring it. That's why I'm excited they've offered me, because there's a new sheriff in town and they're taking a new approach to this thing. Again, I haven't heard much more outside of this. There's been some talk in our Discord about it. But what are your thoughts on it, Big Dave?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you look at Rob Sale, and a lot of people will say the job that he's done with the offensive line was good as far as development wise, but obviously when you go look at recruiting, not really where it should be. Now, you did land you landed Zendamela. He kind of landed in your lap. You didn't really have to recruit that much because he was homesick, but you still got him. That still counts. You had Roderick Kearney. You've gotten a big name like a Fletcher Westfall. But as far as like a recruiting star, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, not really where it's supposed to be as a Florida caliber, if you would put me. But when has the offensive line been great in recruiting for the past decade? It really hasn't been there if you count from the star level. Now, as I said, I will always say that is not me dissing what we have now and say that they can't develop or can't be great. It's just
Sure.
when you go by the high school rankings is all I'm saying. But you look at some of the things too with like Russ Callaway and all that. Now, I haven't specifically heard any kind of movement yet. I haven't even really asked on that part. But if there was movement, and I know I've been told this in the past, hey, look, somebody's get the boot and they're going to bring somebody else in. Don't say anything. It's top secret. They always tell me not to say anything about it anyway. So even if I knew, I probably couldn't say anything. But I mean, it is interesting. That is interesting. It looks like somebody scored, I guess, based on your reaction. So but it is interesting to look at see. And what she said, the new O line, because new O line coaching staff. And now, is she talking about like the high school where he's at staff, or is it the staff that's here at the University of Florida? We'll never know. We'll never be able to decipher it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are hitting her up on Messenger on Facebook right now asking about it. But as far as I'm concerned, man, from a developmental standpoint, I say I can tip my cap to Rob Sale in some sort of certain ways. Obviously, we needed to rely on the portal for a little bit. We did keep Jake Slaughter, so that's a good thing. We kept some other pieces there on the offensive line too. You started to see the offensive line gel a little bit more. Defensive line started to gel a little bit more at the end of the year, and maybe it was a mentality thing, or maybe changing up a scheme thing that really sparked this defensive and offensive line to get better at the end of the year. Or it could have been a lot of the coaching and things that they've changed and things that they've implemented too. So it is interesting to look at and to see, and especially that message right there, because I mean, I got sent this too, and they asked me if I knew anything about it. I said no, but I haven't really asked because I've just been up to my elbows and other stuff outside of here. But even if I did know, I probably couldn't say anything anyway. So
yeah, look, I mean, it's going to be here sooner rather than later, because their contract expires the 31st of January. I am right now on the date.
Yeah.
I was wrong a month ago, but so I assume we'll know here fairly shortly. And again, this dropped today, so it's very close to the timeline. And I imagine with this dropping, typically with these things, kind of they leak out. I guess you could say there's usually news to follow very, very, very quickly. And again, it's just a Facebook post on a mom, and it could have been missaid. It could have been these things again. But when you put pieces together, the fact there's a contract coming up, the fact that we've been seeing a lot of DeCosta on the trail, We did see Sale on the trail early on. Haven't seen him pictures since. That doesn't mean anything, but we piece things together, boys. What we do here on the show. Definitely interesting to keep an eye on. Real quick, a couple super chats and some month memberships here. We've got celebrating. Excuse me here from Stephen Harris. Says 12 months of membership. High Top Baby Sports. Swolder and Shelton News Goats. Let's go. Love it, my man. And then a super chat from Keith Hathcock. We love y'all like we love Swolder's mom. Piss on the haters. $5 for Keith. I love it. And then Rookie says 1 month of they're talking about you again. And shout out Rookie saying 1 month out of an eternity to go. Oh, he's been a member for a month. Shout out to Rookie for being part of the fam for a month now. Oh yeah, good stuff, man. Got a long way to go. We got some pigs in here that been here for about a minute. Had them wings for about a minute and a half, baby. Boys and girls, smash the like button, subscribe. You know the drill. Let's keep going. Let's rock and roll. We're gonna talk about the recruits that are visiting this week, but before we do, there's some interesting stuff happening here. Big Ten SEC got together, and we're like, hey, we're pissed that we didn't get more guys. I mean, the college football players shit needs to change ASAP. So there was an article written that talked about it a little bit. The proposal, and again, none of this can change until 2026. So keep this in mind because obviously the structure in place was a contract through 2026 of the college football playoffs. So as for, I know we complained about how the reseeding should go. That part, I don't know if they can change that in the middle of this contract. That was interesting to me. Maybe you'll have the answer to that when I pass the buck back to you. But the Big Ten and the SEC came together. And you got to remember, these guys have been coming together for quite some time. You've got to imagine the two big horses in this race. They kind of carry the load here. So they definitely have a bigger seat at the table. And also, I kind of wonder if this plays a factor, but the views for this championship were down from last year's championship from 25 million to 22 million now. That doesn't seem like a crazy drop, but just like anything in business, you should be going up. You never want to go backwards, especially with how this season, how it was building up. We talked about it. It was amplifying to be one of the, I would say, biggest college football seasons there's been. And then it kind of just, I talked about it on Tuesday's show, really just took a beeline of like, we saw so much football and the writing was on the wall. Like it was like, yep, Ohio State's going to win this. It was never even in doubt. Maybe that killed the hype, killed the vibe. I don't know. You didn't really feel like you had the two best teams coming out ahead there. So what's being proposed now, one potential idea is a 14 team, which is hilarious because when the 12 got pitched, everyone's like, it's just going to go to 14. It's going to go to, and I was like, no way. I was wrong. How this would work is it would feature 4 automatic bids for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 bids for the Big 12 and the ACC, and then 1 for the Group of 5 and 1 at large, which will likely be either for Notre Dame or the next highest ranked team outside of the automatic bids. This leads me, Notre Dame needs to get this shit figured out and get into a conference. But yeah, I agree. I think when you've got your 2 big powerhouses, the Big Ten and the SEC, we know they carry the most weight. Would I be mad about 14 teams? I don't know. I feel like that's just, again, you're taking away from the conference championship. So there needs to be some value there because, again, avoiding it, Ohio State, there was an advantage of avoiding it. No conference champion played in the national championship. So let alone the Final Four, right? Yeah. Because Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, nobody with their conference was even the Final Four. So it's a lot. Thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I remember when you lost like 2 games during the regular season, especially if you were in the Big Ten, you never even made it to a playoff. You never even made it to the national championship. And I think that's what a lot of the argument was, or at least from what I saw like on social media, was the fact that like, well, if Iowa State lost 2 games, if, this wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen. I mean, the way that it's structured is different. I mean, and you got to get used to it. And obviously people are not used to it yet because we're so used to a 14 playoff. We're used to the BCS. This is brand new, and they're introducing it in different ways. And when you get something brand new and you introduce it, there's going to be things that you have to fix, and there's going to be things that you're going to have to tinker with to get it correct. And this is part of the not even really the problem, part of the product that you get. And when you, as I said, something new, something shiny and new, there's got to be things that you got to tinker with. But it's hard for me just because I'm an old school guy. I'm an old school BCS guy, so I just like that. But I also like the fact that we get to see more games, so it makes it more exciting. I can bet on more games. I won so much money off these playoffs, dude. I'm not even gonna
Well,
lie.
that was another
Right?
big thing too. That all the favorites, I think the favorites went 9-1, and they were 9-2 in
Yeah.
covering the spread. Like it was, and because again, if you covered the spreads and looked at the seeding, it looks like there was a ton of upsets. But we know there wasn't actually any upsets because it was the seedings were whack.
Yeah, and look, I know that I guess the ratings were like what 3 million less than last year or whatever. But I mean, look at all the other games that they made ratings and TV ratings off of and money off of. I don't think they're really caring about the 3 million missing from the Natty game
Hang on,
just
hang on,
based
hang
on
on.
the
Gators
fact.
up by 1.
Oh
Gators
shoot!
1.
Oh,
Fucking suck it. Let's go. Let's go, Will. Let's go. Let's go.
did they
Who's your
really win?
daddy? Who's your daddy? Come on, Todd. Come
70
on.
to 69. 70 to 69.
Suck it. Where's
Shelton
Keith? Sorry.
Shelton is excited.
What a game.
Here, go
What
ahead.
if you
Go
just saw,
ahead.
bro, if you just saw this, they were down 68 to 60 or 65, 68, tie it up, get a foul, 1-on-1 free throw, South Carolina. Will Richard just goes down and says, hold these nuts. I mean, look like Jordan flying in the air. Sorry to interrupt this show. I mean, this has been a great
No, no,
show,
no, no.
but oh
No,
my goodness.
you look like that one time you really had to take a duty and you left, and I had to control the show for like 3 or 4 minutes. So I mean, I saw you over there squirming like a little fish. I
Oh,
knew that was
dude.
going to happen.
Shambles.
I wasn't even keeping up with the time. But from what I was saying, before we won the game and we put our nuts on South Carolina's face one more time, it's talking about the playoff. Like, there's 3 million less in the national championship, but when you look at it from an overall spectrum, you got a whole bunch of other games that they made all this money and all these ratings off of. So I don't really think they care if they're missing 3 million not watching the national championship. But it does suck because it's weird because you had this whole thing to eliminate, a bad national championship, just a big blowout national championship. And before the game, a lot of people, Ohio State's going to win. And they were for a while. They were up 31-7. And you were just like, yeah, this is exactly what we thought. Notre Dame actually made a push. They started to come back, and it made it a little bit more interesting there towards the end. They just ran out of time. So I don't know if that's going to be the structure. It looks like it's not because they love to change stuff. So I'm pretty sure they're going to go to like 14 and lay out the seating like you said. But um, it's college football has just been evolving for the longest, and they seem to not be able to stick with anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they change something here down the road.
With as many useless bowl games as there were, like I wouldn't mind if you added 2 more teams into it. I think it would have really, I mean, especially this year. I mean, you're adding 2 more teams. I think Ole Miss and Bama would have made it, and it adds a whole new factor to this, which would have been fun to watch. So, I don't hate it. I also was thinking about this today when I was putting together the thumbnail. A fun little like side argument. I like the old trophy better. I like with
I do
us.
too.
Right? I feel like we made change because that was the BCS, and this is out of the college football playoff. I know we didn't change the playoffs, but we went from 4 to 12. You could argue you could get a new. I mean, this isn't a bad trophy. I think it's weird, and it's weird that we continuously change it, right? I mean, I think about all the sports we have, like the trophy doesn't change except for college football. Yeah, we're just gonna keep flipping it around. But the old trophy was sick.
It needs to be a flying pig. And
Yeah.
we're done.
We can sponsor the next championship if we need to be. Before you hop on, we got a couple things here. A couple super chats we need to read, and then do want to say a quick little. There's a sad moment in the chat. I feel horrible. I want to at least talk about it, though. Rookie says
Okay.
$5 says screw it. Put all 25 teams in the playoffs. Nothing but chaos. I mean, that's obviously been thrown around a little bit, and I think that would it would help eliminate these conversations because. Maybe not. Probably would just make it crazy. And then Rookie got excited like I did. Said $50, we won, baby. Go Gators. I mean, what a moment. Boys and girls, almost 300 strong. Smash the like button and subscribe. But quick little shout out, I guess, and prayers and love for Zach. Says, first of all, love your show. Second, we lost our oldest daughter in a devastating motorcycle wreck on New Year's Eve day. Had a rough day, and I saw you were alive. Needed to clear my mind. Look, man, I'm glad we can be a part of helping you get through this. Nothing but prayers, my man. Horrible news and not a way to bring in the New Year's. But hey, man, glad you're here. Hopefully we can take some off your heart and have some fun, Bubba.
Yes, Zach, sorry, man. Yeah, that hits home with me, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I can't talk about that.
We got Gators. Here we go. Okay, we got Gators coming in to visit this weekend. Junior day, I think about like 15 guys set to visit. I know you've got a couple of people you want to talk about, so let's go over that list. A lot of four-star guys, defensive line, safety. Look, I think Chapman made some noise last year, and I was thinking I'm going to get a little ahead of myself here, so just give me a quick second. Just seeing what happened with the Lions, they have been ran through with their coaching. Go out, have a big run this past year. I mean, they were primed to be. They were favored to win the Super Bowl and then get absolutely blasted by Washington. But they lose their OC. He brings their offensive line coach, considerably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. They lose their DC. There's rumors they're going to bring Mark Brunell, who's the quarterback coach at the Lions, to the Jets. And I'm sure more defensive coaches will go. They just get ran through. And something to think about, I was thinking, like, look, at Florida, we're going to talk about kind of the future and what Florida is expected to do and all these things. If Florida goes on a run, I think these guys like a Chapman and Harris, that's two really. I mean, if we go on a run, these guys would have to have good years. I got to think. I was like, dang man, these guys probably we're going to be dealing with a little bit of picking through. And it's like here we are again. I mean, who knows? I could be wrong, but I think Will Harris, and if Chapman does, some great things, and if he's already had like that year, I mean, he got year one. Those two guys were very massive components, I believe, to our success. You got to wonder, what could happen. And I don't want to, foreshadow, but it would be for a good reason because Florida goes on a little bit of a tear. But man, that's what just shows how hard it is to win and to consistently win. Because when you do, you get picked through. But talk about the guys that are going to be coming through and visiting over the next couple of days here, this weekend, I should say.
Yeah, that's a long laundry list of guys, especially for Junior Day. 24th, you got a couple of three visitors here. You got Brandon Bennett, 4-star. He's safety Jamarian Gordon. You have running back Javion Mallory. He's a new one. This is I'm running down just the list that Blake gave me. This is off 24/7. You have defensive lineman James Johnson, 4-star safety Jordan Edmonds, 4-star linebacker Isaiah Williams, one of the I guess the more popular names here as of late. 4-star safety Aiden Pouncey, 4-star linebacker Adam Balgon Ali. These guys got some weird names. Michigan commit Brody Jennings, 3-star defensive lineman Carter Lucky, offensive lineman Rice Woodrow, offensive lineman Bryson Cooley, wide receiver Brandon Brown Jr., linebacker slash safety Karen Mayock, cornerback Dominic Turnbull. And that's just a new one that was just added too. So a lot of these guys, obviously, they're all rated 4 and 3-star. You're not going to have a lot of 5-star rated guys right now because it's the beginning of the cycle. But once those 5 stars expand to like 26, 25, 30, that type of stuff, I'm sure a lot of these 4 stars will be considered 5 stars towards the, I guess, middle of the summer or whatever. Because I know a lot of people were saying, oh, there's no 5 stars on this list, but there's not really any 5 stars at the beginning of a cycle anyway.
Yeah.
So, it looks like it's going to shape up to be a good Junior Day. Obviously, you've got, it looks like at least 20 people visiting this weekend. So maybe you get a commit out of it. And maybe we start off. I think we got 3 commits in the class right now. You got Jalen Waters, who's obviously, you see the crystal ball for him to flip to Miami. We don't know if that's going to actually happen or not, but that's been put in from somebody at On3, I believe. I can't remember the person's name.
Didn't see that.
Of course.
Thanks for that, Dave.
Yeah,
Appreciate the good news today.
Yeah. Well, that was put in like a week ago. I don't know how you didn't see that, but I mean, he's been visiting Miami. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to flip, could flip. But
He gone.
You've got 3 guys in the class now. You obviously know you're going to at least hit 20, 25 plus at the end of the cycle anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about anybody flipping or even if we get a commit, I wouldn't worry about it right now because it's the beginning.
So early.
I mean, these kids, especially NIL, I mean, you see all these flips and everything else on signing day too because of NIL and these last minute tampering deals that are going on. So it's crazy. I would say Florida's been pretty good at like keeping their people in their class. I mean, they'll have a flip or two, but they've been pretty good at like just holding on to some of the people as opposed to I guess last summer's class when we kind of had that downfall and then all those kids were decommitting. At least this time, we didn't have any kind of a downfall, and we were actually able to add Dallas Wilson to that mix as well.
Yeah, I think people are talking about Dallas Wilson in the chat. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
What are they talking about?
I'll find out for him, but I haven't heard anything on it yet. If there was something really bad going on, somebody would tell me. So.
Well, I know he's not there yet, but it's just with his schooling, so he's not on campus yet. That is
he's not on campus yet. That
correct.
don't mean anything.
No, because he has to get some credits done. Yeah, he has not enrolled yet.
Yeah,
Correct. If
yeah,
everybody has written about this that he's not enrolled, but it's only because has finished a couple of credits, but will be enrolled. From my understanding, for this within a matter of a week or two, like he'll be here before the spring cycle, is my understanding. So I don't know where this is
yeah.
even starting. The chat gets wild. I gotta ignore the chat. We're fine. Everybody smash the like button and relax.
I did get a message from somebody about Dallas Wilson today, and I was like, I haven't heard anything. Usually, if it's something bad or something bad's going to happen or they're going to leave, somebody's going to tell me, like, and I'll know about it. But I haven't heard anything. So.
Oh, jeez, this is crazy. I don't think there's anything in it. I don't even know what comment they're even responding to. I don't even know. I have no idea. This is why I can't read the comments.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Look. I'll double check and ask, and if you're part of our Discord, you'll know if join our Discord, and we'll let you know. Until then, you'll have to wait till next week till I'm on
Yeah,
show.
sweat it out.
Unless I tell Shelton, and then he'll say something on the show about it.
I think people are probably just wondering why he isn't there, but that is everything that I've read. It's just simply because of the credits, and that was known a while ago. Like I talked to Keith on the phone, and we knew about that. Like that's something I've known for quite some time and didn't even think about it. The other thing is, so this show, of course, brought to you by BetUS and powering us all season long. Although college football's over, NFL playoffs is hot and heavy right now, an absolute blast. I think this week is going to be fun. Been having fun. Put my bets on those. I've talked to you about that, the heartbreak that I've dealt with. I think that's just kind of just been my MO this year. I've had some W's. I've been kind of just been teetering back and forth. So be sure to check out BetUS.com. Use the code YouTube150. Get back 150% on your first deposit, then 125 on your next two. Again, this show is empowered by BetUS all season long. Can't thank them enough for powering us through the entire college football season and through the NFL playoffs and maybe a little bit of it into March Madness a little bit. So awesome stuff. Quick little nugget here. This isn't really a thing, anything massive. We kind of thought this was going to happen, but then Cam was on our show and removed it. Nick Del Toro reported on this first that Cormani McClain was on scholarship, and then there was like, oh, he's not on scholarship. So just the basic back and forth. Of what's happening here. But I like this quote because this is from Zach Goodall 247. My man's back in action, rock and roll. And shout out to Zach. Be sure to check out his content. We're trying to get him on, but the guy's just like, he's just too popular for us. He's like, you guys are a bunch of bums. I was like, all right, that's close. Nah, he's cool. He's been busy. He was supposed to come on today, but had to cover the boys get it done, which is rightfully so. But this quote I love because obviously we heard about the drama last year with Cormani McClain. We talked about it on the show actually with him missing practice and showing up late and meetings and having to run and it causing a little bit of a rift in the locker room. And then we saw it kind of come full circle. Plays at Kentucky, gets a pick six. The team surrounds him, shows a lot of gratitude and love for him, and really kind of worked through that, right? And again, people forget this guy's going into his third year. Number one cornerback coming out of high school. I mean, was one of the hottest recruits. This guy's name is like, it just attracts eyeballs. It's like a magnet. It's unbelievable. What surrounds him. I think a lot of people want this kid to be great. A lot of people just kind of watching him grow up, especially in that down in the South area where he came from. But this was the quote that I like. He says, the guy obviously can play man-to-man. He can cover. Said Napier, he just got to get bigger, which we've all been saying. We've all been yelling. We know what Harris loves his cornerback stick, baby. Get bigger this offseason, stronger. He's got to become a more knowledgeable player, and he's got to improve as a tackler. I think the weight room, the nutrition, sleep habits, all those things can help him. I thought this was probably the most direct and most clarifying response or answer we've ever gotten about anybody. And I like the transparency from Napier there, just saying like, yeah, the kid's great, but we got to get these things figured out. And we've kind of seen it from the outside. We've heard about it. But to hear Napier to be very as transparent as he is, he knows what he's doing. You got to wonder if that was him kind of taking kind of like a fatherly approach of like, hey, you're doing great things, but these are other things you still have to work on. And he can't technically, I guess, can't be there coaching, doing these things during this time of the offseason. It's all in Tyler Miles' hands. So maybe this is his way of coaching. You know what I mean? Like, let me make sure this gets out there. I know these cats are reading this stuff. So I loved it. I thought it was a great little quote there for Kermani, and happy he got himself a scholarship too.
Yeah, I mean, I was a doubter when he came here too, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was just like, man, this kid's been at two schools, or actually, I guess he technically won, but I mean, you consider what he did on signing day, and then spurned the Gators, went to Miami, then went to Colorado, and then Dion kicked him out. So like, I didn't have a lot of confidence that, when he got here, it was kind of like one of those Giante Cook situations in my head with like, oh, we're going to bring this kid in and he's going to be kicked out here in what, 2 weeks. But no, I mean, that's not the case. He's actually, he's straightened up. It seems like, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but it looks like he's straightened up and he's done very well for himself and he earned himself a scholarship. So hats off to him. And, I'm not a doubter anymore. So hopefully everything works out. But, a lot of those 5-star guys, when they come out of high school, it's like the talent's there. That's why they're rated a 5-star. Now, some of these 5-stars you can plug and play them in college, and they're phenomenal. And you just have to teach them the playbook, and they're good to go. Cormani has 5-star talent, but he's got to learn a little bit more than some other of the 5-stars that come in there. That's kind of how, like, I guess how they rate some of these guys. It's like they rate them based on the talent and what they think they can be in college. And obviously, he's like I said, he's got to gain weight. He's got to work on some things, tackling and all that, the normal stuff that a kid has to come in from high school and learn. Obviously, he's been here for, I guess you would say, 6, 7, 8 months. So, yeah, I don't know what he was being taught over there at Colorado. Obviously, it's not what they're trying to teach him here at the University of Florida. But the good part is you're seeing him starting to grow. You're seeing him starting to accept the fact that, like, hey, look, I got to quit being stupid and got to get serious about my football career if I want to play football. And he earned himself a scholarship. So if he's willing to do that, I have no shadow of a doubt that he'll be willing to do everything else that's asked of the coaching staff.
Personally, from monitoring the situation, I don't think that Colorado was necessarily putting up with it or allowing it. I just don't think that they were more as patient with it. I think they were more like, hey, like either you get this shit figured out or you're out of here.
Yeah.
Where I think Napier comes from a little bit of a different kind of. I remember that clip from Swamp Kings where Urban had that strict mentality, that kind of the old school, like, dude, I'm not gonna hold your hand. And then that situation happened to that kid, and he kind of adjusted. And I think where Billy comes from the Saban era, where we've heard Saban kind of have more of like I would say a patient approach to it, if
Yeah.
you will. And Coach Prime has been very vocal about being kind of more old school. Of like, I'm not gonna hold your hand. I don't have time for that. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I think it's just two different approaches, and I think that's why we see what we're seeing here. Again, what we heard and kind of just the things that he was doing last year, missing practices, being late. You were already on a fourth gimme. Like, what? Yeah, I mean, a lot of coaches probably would have said, "See you later." And I think Napier and Co really want to try to make this thing work. Get very talented kid, and it's again sounds like things are kind of on the up and up. So we'll see. Obviously, this will be another 6-7 month battle of going through it. We'll talk a little bit about the basketball game. We didn't get to watch too much of it because obviously we're here live doing the show. But from what I could tell, it started off kind of slow, and they were going to pull it off. The fans started rolling in out that the game is over. So good to see all you boys and girls. See if we get to 100 likes before the show comes to a close. But I do want to talk about this last little bit here that we talked, about it a little bit. I think I did. I can't remember if you were here or not. The way too early top 25.
Yeah.
You never want to put too much smoke into this. Also, the over-unders came out for Florida. It was 6.5 is the number. And again, that's telling you that Vegas is favoring Florida in six-ish games of the 12 games. And one of them is probably a pick 'em. Is kind of where they're looking at. If you look at it, you know how they should be favored. It's probably closer to 7. And then as the season goes on, that will change. But as of now, that's how they're viewing next season. But when I took a look at this top 25, what really is eye-opening to me is just how wide open it is. And I kind of have a weird hot take. I was trying to formulate this in my head, and I don't know if it's going to come off the way that I'm thinking as it will. But going into next season, I think is the first time in probably 5 years that we don't have just this overwhelming dominant team. Going into this year, Ohio State, everyone felt was the best team. Now, they didn't look at that at times, but ultimately ended up being that team. Michigan was the team last year. No question. Like, there was never that Michigan team brought everybody back, had a ton of NFL talent, was primed to go and win a national championship. And by golly, they did. Before that, it was Georgia, right? It was like Georgia and everybody else. And then going back further, we can keep kind of getting nitty gritty with it. But this year, it feels wide open. There's only one team, in my opinion, and I think this is the take that we're gonna get away from those stacked teams because of the NIL. You're not able to stack talent like you used to, so you're not going to see this build up and just kind of, I think, the reign of carrying over. I could be wrong, but Penn State seems to be following the formula that Michigan and Ohio State did. They're at They're kind of where this year, where Ohio State was last year, and where Michigan was 2 years ago before they won. A lot of NFL talent, bringing back their senior quarterback, right? They're in a really good position, and it arguably could be in that number one spot, just given what's all coming back. Georgia, I was talking about, but again, Georgia's an interesting one. They're losing their entire
Yeah.
defensive line. Their entire defensive line. Their guy that's coming up, Jordan Baby Hall, who was a five-star guy who we missed on, didn't play at all this past year. So he's going to be playing basically like a sophomore season. Their entire offensive line, I think three-fourths of it, or three or four of it, like three, yeah, like, again, 4 or 5 of them are gone. And the guys coming in, go take a look at it. It's not like these just 5-star, just it's the size. It's because they wouldn't follow the Billy Napier style. We're just picking all of their leftovers. Now they got some talent. Don't get it twisted. Like Monroe Freeling, big time tackle, great stuff there. They got some 4-star guys in between it, but it isn't kind of just this overwhelming backup. And then of course the question mark at Gunnar Stockton. All these things. Ohio State's taking a step back. Now they've got arguably the best wide receiver we've seen in my lifetime. I can't wait to see what Jeremiah Smith's going to do. Caleb Downs is going to come back. I was talking today, man. He possesses that Ed Reed style of safety where he's just like safety is, I would say, the least impactful role on the defense, unless you have somebody like a Caleb Downs that can come in. He plays like a nickel. He can play. He just plays everywhere. They're just like, yo, just go kill somebody. The guy's a hawk. Like he's not your typical strong safety. The guy is a difference maker. So you got a great place for Ohio State, but Julian Sand coming in, not a lot of information. They're losing both their running backs. They're losing they're losing the heart of their defense, bringing a lot of their O-line back, though. That's going to be good. So great. All these teams, my point of this is Ohio State, great pieces, question marks. Texas, they lost a lot of talent to the NFL. Great pieces, right? How does it all come together? Notre Dame is probably the only team I don't have much information. So we'll skip them. Georgia, kind of just discussed them. Oregon, same thing. Losing some guys, still have recruited very well, always aggressive in the portal. They'll be up there as well. Clemson, I may have overlooked here. Clemson is kind of fitting into that Penn State category. They're kind of peaking. They're peaking at the right time. Got a lot of talent coming back. Oh, Klubnik, right? That's a good opportunity. LSU, kind of similar. Nussmeier going into his second full year as a player. That's another team to keep an eye on next year. South Carolina with Lenore Seller, great defense. They're bringing back Nick Harbert, the edge rusher, who I can't think of right now, got paid like $60 million to stay. That team's got a lot of key pieces that are gonna be fun to watch. Alabama, I think a massive question mark there, massive question mark. And then of course Florida kind of has a little bit of everything. Arguably the most talented, highest ceiling in quarterback in college football with DJ Lagway. We've got Dallas Wilson coming in. That's going to be a star. Eugene Wilson, Aiden Mizell. You bring in Studervant on the defensive side of the ball. You bring him. A lot of these teams have exciting pieces. You know what I mean? And Michigan's another one I could argue in the top 10. I think they're bringing back a really good team. There's an excitement here that I'm really looking forward to that, look, it's going to work itself out like it always does, but it just doesn't feel like somebody just has the clear-cut favorite to take it all because of how much turnover there is headed into next season in the good kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of turnover. I know LSU did really, really well in the portal. They did really, really, really well high school recruiting wise. I think,
They did.
obviously, they're coached by who? What? What's up? Did you say hey?
They
Dave?
did. I was agreeing with you. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I thought you said hey, Dave.
Oh,
But yeah. I think LSU's gonna be a very tough team this year, just based on what
agreed.
they have. And of course, Brian Kelly's their coach. We already know that, and we know how that goes. And then you're still seeing the struggles with Alabama. They have some key losses there too. I mean, you go to Georgia. I mean, like their main players that they lost. I mean, you look at it, Carson Beck. He went to Miami. ETN, don't worry about him. Jalen Walker, Malachi Starks, Michael Williams. I mean, like these are just key losses that I read in this article from ESPN. And then, of course, you got Tennessee. They've lost Sampson. They've lost some other pieces there too. Now they brought in a lot of good O linemen, and they returned the quarterback. And Nico could get better. He could get worse, or he could stay the same. You
Sure.
got Ole Miss, who I think, obviously they're losing talent, but I'm very, very high on Austin Simmons. I think Austin Simmons, when I was looking at him when we were recruiting him, unfortunately he flipped to Ole Miss. I was like, dude, this kid is one of the best pure passers I've seen in a long time. Like, literally looked at the film, and that wasn't just me being a Florida homer when I was looking at it. I was like, man, this kid's really good. And I think I remember when we had Connor Clark on, I think me and him were talking about him when he committed to Florida, and we're like, he might be a better passer than Lagway, like just
Mm,
based on just pocket passing. Now, that
mm,
doesn't mean he's going to be a better quarterback, but
sure, sure.
I mean, we saw what happened when he had to come in for Jackson Dart against Georgia. He drove
Look
it
good.
right down the field for a touchdown. Looked really good as a backup. So I think they're a team to kind of look out for there too. Carson Beck may or may not be good with the surgery and everything else he's got now. Miami returns the offensive line, so that's going to help him out there a little bit more too. Obviously, you got returning defensive lineman, offensive lineman for the University of Florida. That game, week 4, I believe, is going to be one of those games where I will troll the crap out of Miami fans if we win that game. But I mean, you've got some teams on here returning pieces, but also they're missing some key pieces too. So, like, you'll have a team that's okay, well, returning some good defensive linemen, but we lost our quarterback or we lost a bunch of our wide receivers, or, you know, it's crazy. I think South Carolina has a good chance to make some noise this
Very
year
much.
too.
Agreed.
Um,
Lenore
it
Sellers,
is
man, he
just
was fun to watch last year, and that defense at South Carolina, man, they were playing some really
yeah,
good ball. I think they had to kind of took a couple tough breaks in some games, but I mean, they're a game away from being in the college football playoffs, and who knows? I mean, Beamer Ball, that guy's crazy. You don't know what to expect. But Miami's an interesting one. Our boy Andy Staples talked about it today, and I love that.
yeah,
Tagged one of my Miami guys in it because he was saying that, hey, I think Florida's further along right now than Miami,
yeah.
and
Wait,
people were
didn't
going
didn't
nuts.
didn't Mario Cristobal say that? Like the trajectory and Miami's on a better trajectory. Isn't that what he said? And he like pounded his fist on the table. Yeah.
He did. But it was look, and Andy. I mean, he's going to get thrashed for all those things for those comments from Miami guys, and I got where he was coming from. It's like, look how the season ended, and Florida is growing to what we saw, where Miami was kind of fizzling out, and in a way, Cam Ward is what Jordan Travis was to FSU. I mean, that guy really
Yeah.
brought that team to life, and I don't see Carson Beck just bringing that team to life like that. He's not
No,
even
no.
playing the spring game, so you're not going to see what Carson Beck brings to the table till come August. And so that's where I think he's coming in and of like, look, would you think about it like that? Miami kind of fizzled out where Florida was finding its rhythm, and that's where Florida is up here because of the turnaround, because of the progress they made on defense, because of the things they saw. And again, a lot of that team is coming back, which we've talked about of retaining that. And I talked a little bit about this on Tuesday morning on the show that I did with the Ohio State situation, because Ohio State obviously winning the national championship, everyone's like, look, okay, what that was the blueprint. And that's my point. I don't think that's a reality moving forward. I think spending money is correct, but they kind of were at a perfect point where they are able to stockpile talent that they have nurtured. They only got 3 key guys. Now, that's not, I don't say only lightly, but it wasn't like they were just some by the side team. No, they had all the right pieces and go get 3 guys. And let's not get it twisted. We said this, there was a clip about it. There's no 12-team playoff. Ohio State's blueprint gets crumpled up and thrown to the trash because when they needed it most, if they would have needed it most, they lose to Michigan. They're not even in the playoffs. So now that's not how the world works. They were in, they win it. That's what matters. But yeah, I don't think it's the true full blueprint because there's just you don't have that stockpile offense anymore, and I don't think you're going to be able to keep enough to get to a point of that. It's going to be a lot of turnover from year to year, which is again the whole idea of the NIL. It levels out the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it this year. I mean, I think this is like the peak of where you see the turnover of NIL, especially with the changes they made to the transfer portal. I know that they're going to shorten it, which I think is actually really good that they should shorten that because it's getting out of control. Like, I mean, you're seeing a lot of kids do stupid things, and of course, like you still have the rule where like if somebody gets fired, you got 30 days to transfer. You still got the 5-day transfer thing after the bowl games and all that other kind of stuff. So there's still going to be openings. It's just they're going to shorten the opening to like 10 days, I think is what I read. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're starting to see where NIL and even if you're tampering, we know all the schools do it, but like we're starting to see now where NIL is even out the playing field a little bit more. So it's more of like a free for all. Of course, you're going to have teams every year that are pretty stacked and you're going to run into that, but you're going to run into it less. Like, you're not going to have like back in the day with Alabama just dominating college football and nobody can beat them because their defense and offense is just killing everybody that's in their way because they have all the money. They do they you can't monopolize it anymore. So I think that's what's added a cool concept to it, especially the 12-team playoff. Now you have to go through like a 4-team, 3-team gauntlet depending on whether you get a bye or not too. So it's like there really is a harder path to get to the national championship, but at the same time, you know, there's more of an even path between all the teams.
Yeah, in a weird way, it kind of has come full circle to where it goes back to, hey, you've got to recruit well, you got to develop, and you got to coach well, and you got to do it quickly. The portal will
Yeah,
serve a purpose, right, of filling pieces. But eventually, with it
yeah.
being cut down, I don't think you're going to be able to turn over a roster as much as some teams are doing it currently. Which again resorts back to how it was, where you're having to be the way this season looks like it's going to be is perfect in my eyes. You've got a lot of key pieces. You've built up, you've developed, you got some key stars returning for a lot of guys, and it's like, okay. You're relying on, hey, is Gunnar Stockton going to turn out to what he was supposed to be? Is Arch Manning, the perfect quarterback, going to live up to the hype this following year? Is Julian Sano,
Yep.
once a 4-star or a 5-star quarterback who was once at Alabama, transfers to Ohio State to be the guy, get a lot of hype coming? Is he going to be the guy? Dante Moore for Oregon, ton of hype coming out of high school for this kid. Supposed to be the next guy, goes to UCLA or US. I always get a mix with Malachi Nelson. Then transfers to Oregon, right? Kay Klubnik was supposed to be the guy, takes over DJ Ugalali. Doesn't really do much early on. Now he's peaking. Garrett Nussmeyer, a lot of hype behind him, and people kind of complain about him. Kid's good, guys. Don't sleep on this kid. Laura Sellers comes out of the clouds, in my opinion. Very exciting. You got Keelan Russell, 5-star guy, going to Alabama. He's going to be the guy. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, DJ Lagway for the Florida Gators. I mean, you can't script anything better than this. I mean, you've got all these teams that've got key pieces, key returning components with all the key star in the making. Lenore Sellers, Arch Manning, Julius Sane, Dante Moore. You just kiss me, baby. I love it. I'm fired up for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking that part of where college football is going, of the more even route. I mean, now like you said, coaching and development is going to matter a lot more now these days. And if you're a bad coach and you want to cheat, you're probably just going to cheat the drug test and let your kids take steroids at this point because there's no other way around it. So I do like it though. I mean, like that's the part of the college football that I am liking right now, is it's starting to even the playing field. They still got some kinks to work out with the transfer portal, that kind of stuff. But I think the expansion of the playoff and the way that, as I said, you explained it, I don't. They're probably going to change it just based on the fact that they change it every single time that they can. But it's evolving, and once you find a good formula for it to evolve, I think you're going to start making more. A lot of this stuff is just for TV purposes too, making a lot more money. You're going to have a lot more TV ratings. You're going to have a lot more tickets bought, a lot more money raised for whatever they do with it. So I think it's a good thing for them too. So. I don't know, man. It's as I said, I'm an old school guy. I'm used to the BCS. I'm 40 years old, so it's like, you know, it all hit me at once. But I gotta accept it, right? I can't sit here and be mad about it. I gotta accept it and just watch it and hope Florida wins national championship at some point.
Look, these things are happening like we've talked about before. I like the fact that we're seeing more of these teams, and you hear kind of like, Notre Dame has always had history, but in my lifetime, and they ain't been shit. Right, besides the one time they went to the playoffs and got absolutely collapsed. So you kind of hear about like this great Notre Dame, but we've truly never seen it. Nebraska, I've never seen Nebraska be good. So there's these teams that have kind of been pushed towards the back. I think now have an opportunity to get back into the limelight because of it, and I think it makes following college football a little more electric personally. And again, it's one of those things like you can choose to hate it, but you're just gonna be the grumpy guy in the corner, like throwing a fit. Like it's happening. Like it is what it is. But all in all, good stuff. Great show. We had a little bit of excitement there, which was fun. In the middle of it, you can't ask for anything better than that. But all in all, fantastic stuff. Smash the like button. You guys know the drill. Do what you need to do. Get us. We're almost 25,000 subs. Continue to grow. Working on got some. I feel like last year I kind of dropped the ball and growing where I wanted to go. I think it was an all healthy, successful season. But I've got goals and aspirations. And I think we got to turn the corner. We got to turn a leaf here to really bring this thing up to another level. I think we got opportunity. We got a great fan base to get there, and we're gonna keep pushing. So if you guys can help us by smashing the like button, comments, and do what you normally do, we greatly appreciate it. Dave, any closing thoughts before we rock and roll up on out of here?
Yeah, I saw somebody question about the Discord link. I guess maybe it's messed up again. I think maybe I think I messed with it on accident, so I may have messed the link up. My bad. But I had a couple of people message me earlier that said that they were high top members, but link didn't work. So of course, I made them prove it that they were high top members. I let them in the Discord, but I gave them a one time use link, so the link can't be. But also, Zach, prayers for you, man. Hey, if you catch me on Twitter, or if you have a Twitter, message me on High Top Dave, man. I got something for you, man, Zach. So prayers out to you and the guy, whoever called me a 4-foot hobbit named Derek. I ain't nobody important to worry about, man. You ain't gonna worry about me. But that's it.
Boys and girls, I love you as always. Be good, be safe. We will catch you in the next one. Keep the bell turned on. Like I said, we got contract expiring in the next 8 days. So anything could be happening, anything could be moving. And if it does move or happens, you know where we'll be. Saturday, we got Georgia, Florida basketball live at 3:30, 4 o'clock, I believe. We'll be talking about doing all the good things come Saturday afternoon. So y'all be good. Smash the like button. We love you. Till next time, I guess. Peace and love, baby.